Thank you so much for asking. Woo, it's a blustery day.
Oh, you do have some breezy going on today. That's nice.
Yeah. Wow, man. My cover just blew off of my keypad here.
Go get it. It's okay. You know where it went?
I don't know where. It's clear. There it is. I had the colored one, but then I couldn't see the keypads. There we go.
There we go. Hey, welcome to the Expat Diaries podcast, and we are always checking out the amazing humans who've made the trek from their home country to make Costa Rica their new home. And today we're going to be talking with Deepa, and she did this a long, long time ago. So she is a Costa Rican veteran and has a really kind of amazing story, and I can't wait to actually hear more about her property and her animals. You can hear them in the background talking to us also. So we'll be interviewing the dogs as well. They'll be piping in with us. So welcome, Deepa. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Robin. Thank you so much for asking. Woo, it's a blustery day.
Oh, you do have some breezy going on today. That's nice.
Yeah. Wow, man. My cover just blew off of my keypad here.
Go get it. It's okay. You know where it went?
I don't know where. It's clear. There it is. I had the colored one, but then I couldn't see the keypads. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm doing great, happy, glad to be alive in Costa Rica on this beautiful mountain with my family of animals.
So tell me, I know we spoke a little bit when we were talking about your journey here, and most people, their journey starts with like a vacation, or they come in for a wedding, or there's some other event that brings them there, and then once they're in country, they're just like, I think sometimes they have vacation love affairs, right? So they fall in love with their vacation experience, but yours started way, way, way back, right? Tell me about that.
Okay, well, it was a teacher in either 7th or 8th grade wanted me to do a report on a country. Now, I'm of the age where at that, I was the middle of the Vietnam War. So we were seen on TV every night. So many people died, so many people maimed and wounded. And I'm like 10 years old, and I'm like, whatever this war thing is, like, it doesn't seem like it really supports life and humanity and the kind of life I want to have. So when the teacher says, do a report on a country, I went to her after class, and I'm like, all right, there's a lot of countries. I'm 10, 12 years old here. Can you give me some guidance? So she told me about Costa Rica and Switzerland with no army. And then she told me about South Africa with apartheid, which just made me cry. I couldn't believe that was happening in the 1970s, and it's a modern world. So I did my report on South Africa because I just was amazed that any human would think that was an acceptable way to conduct life, but I always had Costa Rica in my heart. And I grew up in California, and I would go hiking, and I'd be looking in the trees for monkeys because I knew there were supposed to be monkeys where I lived. Maybe I should put these on. The wind's picking up. Although I think the speaker doesn't work that great. So after a point, I had achieved the American dream. I owned my house in the mountains. I was an acupuncturist running 3 clinics. I'm a professor at the local acupuncture university, which had 2 campuses, and worked part-time at the hospital to keep my registered nursing skills current. And I said, dude, if I don't get out of here, I'm going to die here. And this is not what I want. There's no monkeys in these trees. So I leased my house to one of my acupuncture students and went down to Costa Rica. And I was pretty clear at this point what I needed. I needed to be a protector and preserver of watershed and rainforest.
And what year was this?
Well, when I finally came down and bought it, it was 2008. So yeah, I guess 2008, I leased the house. I took a couple of search trips. I found a piece of land that kind of meant what I needed, but not exactly. I wanted to come back and see it in the rainy season. So when I came back in the rainy season, That particular land was not available. It had a hypotheca and it couldn't be sold. So, but I found this place by grace, if nothing else. Just like, and it's exactly what I wanted. I have the original parcel was 183 acres, probably at least 150 of primary rainforest, and I've got 7 springs, 3 rivers, 5 waterfalls, crazy wildlife. It's exactly what I was looking for. So I signed the paperwork and here I am.
I doubt that it was that simple. However, so then you just walked away from your life in California and your house and your businesses, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I shut the businesses down. They weren't it was right around the economic collapse, right? So I was getting less and less clients in the acupuncture clinic, and the teaching really didn't make any money, and I just didn't want to be in the US. It wasn't for me. Money speaks. And I always felt, if I was going to have to pay taxes and participate in some sort of governmental cultural experience, it should be doing something I believe in.
Right.
I was not down with paying to kill people in Afghanistan and Vietnam and wherever all else were killing people, Chile, Nicaragua. It wasn't my thing. I didn't want to support that. So as amazing as Costa Rica is, the real ultimate motivating factor for me was political. The fact that there's no army, that there's socialized medicine, that there's a higher literacy rate, a lower poverty gap, a longer life expectancy, a culture and a country that is designed for and by people, not to rip people off and fool you and steal from you. Right. Although I found that here too.
That's everywhere there is a government, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much.
You'll find that.
Can't find a place with no government. Well, Antarctica, but you're not allowed to own there. I have been there. Talk about a crazy cool vibration of a country that's completely without that, a land without that idea of dominance and control and ownership. That's an outrageous vibration. But here, the vibration in Costa Rica of no army is also incredible. Yeah. Like you said yesterday, you felt at home. That's exactly what it was for me. I got here and I'm like, whoa, just the baseline level of vibration or experience is like, whoa, this is it. This is where I belong. And there's monkeys, so it worked out.
That's probably one of my favorite things too, is the monkeys. It's funny, when I was down there, when I was in Costa Rica last week, generally, like, and we were over in the southern zone, but like really up in the mountains a little bit. And I like had told my grandkids who'd never been there before, I'm like, oh my gosh, so the monkeys will wake you up every morning. Don't expect to sleep past 5:30 a.m. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you, and I don't know if it's because the house had no AC, which, you know, it's fine. It's how it's supposed to be. But they have fans, and the fans were really loud. And I don't know if we just couldn't hear them, but like not one time didn't hear one howler the entire time.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was like, and I'm like, I felt like the world's biggest lamb. Like, I promise you, they're normally here, like barking up a storm.
Just for you kids, you get to sleep in.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, I didn't let them sleep in, however. There was toucans and parrots to see and macaws. There was other things that they needed to experience.
Oh, yeah. It's so beautiful here.
So you managed. So is it a lot to manage, like the, 176 acres?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I bought another parcel that adjoins mine. So now I have 190 some odd acres. Wow. And yeah, it's definitely, it's a lot of prioritizing and what do I want to do? And of course, a bajillion experiments to get to where I am. But I knew I wanted to be as self-sustaining as possible. And I knew I wanted to be like an educational center, a model of living lightly on the earth. And pretty much that's what I've been doing. In my 17 years, I've planted over 3,500 trees here in over 85 species. It's in a maybe 30, 35 acre food forest, I'll call it.
Nice. And so tell me what your day looks like every day.
Okay. That's an interesting one. I get up. I get greeted by my loving fur family, and that's really important. Everybody has to get some huggins and some kisses in, have a cup of coffee, check while I'm having that. I'll check the emails and whatever else contacts I need to do. 6 a.m. my employees show up, so I meet with them, talk about the plan of the day, the priorities, what happened yesterday. And I have also received international volunteers. So if there's volunteers, I'll meet with them, have a cup of coffee, say, okay, so these are what I want is on the agenda. Coordinated plantings around the full moon. That was a big one. I don't know if you're a gardener at all, but in California, I always had to plant on the new moon, but here you have to plant on the full moon.
Oh,
The
wow.
moon, because it controls the tide. So in California, it's dry. So you put the seed in the ground and you want the moon to bring the water up to the seed. As the moon gets fuller, the water goes up. So what happens here? You put the seed in the ground on the full moon and it drowns. I was having germination rates below 5%, and I just couldn't figure it out until I looked at the neighbors and they're all planting on the full moon. I'm like, all right. Switched to that, and though the garden got way better.
Wow, that's awesome. So on your so when you bring in your international volunteers, do they stay on site with you, or do they have to stay somewhere else? Do you have accommodations for them?
Oh yeah, I actually have the original farmhouse here. I've converted into sort of a youth hostel, let's say.
Okay.
So I have a bunk room. It's got 2 bunk beds, and that's the one I usually use for the volunteers. And then I've got 2 other rooms that I have posted on Airbnb and Hostel World and that stuff. And I got a beautiful house, a 1-bedroom house with a mezzanine office and a living room, extensive decks, and I rent that out to people too. Sometimes people want to come and they want to volunteer, but they don't want to work too much. So they give a little cash and I put them up and feed them. And it's a flow. It's pretty fun.
I love it. I love it. And so generally, how many months out of the year do you have volunteers there with you?
12.
Oh, yeah, like all seasons.
Yeah. I've been going back and forth with it because sometimes the volunteers are excellent and they're motivated and they're interested, and sometimes they're just looking for a cheap vacation. And I mean, I had people here that were getting up at 11 o'clock in the morning,
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
God.
dude, I'm having lunch.
Yeah.
You need to like move on because and then like, it's so hot I can't work. Yeah, you should have been up with 6 with the rest of us.
Yeah. For
So
real.
and then there's some people who are just as crazy as me, and they work dawn to dusk and keep going, and we have a blast. And so I, I'm trying to limit. The most I've ever had at once was like 12. I'm trying to keep it to 2 to 4, so it's more manageable, and we still get the group dynamic. And it's really fun as a cultural exchange too, because I had a Chinese girl, a Chinese national, and she was a great cook. I'm like, no, I'm not going to put you in the garden. You just cook some more of those cool steam buns and whatever all that stuff is. You could be the cook. So
Awesome.
I try to put what people like and also have it be enjoyable for everybody. Try to get what they're interested in.
Right. So like how do people I'm sure and you'll give me the links and I'll put them in below in the show notes, but like how do they find you to be able to go, I want to come volunteer as well? I assume you have a website.
I do. I have 2 websites, and there's a little bit about it on one website. I have a Facebook page called Work Exchange Costa Rica that deals with that. I'm listed on WOOF, which is WWOOF, Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. I was on Workaway, but I let that one go. I'm on World Packers right now, but I wrote that I was completely full because I was getting frustrated. Some of those Wolf has always been good, but some of those other ones, I don't know, the people that have been coming, I haven't been as connected with, let's say.
Okay.
Different desires. People on Wolf come because they're interested in farms and plants and nature. People on World Packers might get here and go, oh, but there's spiders. I'm like, yeah, we're in the rainforest. There's going to be spiders. I've had people show up in high heels, pantyhose, and mini skirts. And I had this crazy guy show up who thought it was just going to be all a bunch of white chicks in bathing suits. He was from Nicaragua, and he got here and he's like, hey, where's all the chicks in bathing suits? I'm like, it's a farm. We're wearing pants and we're trimming trees. So he left the next day because he wanted white chicks in bathing suits.
There you go. There you go. So so they come and they work on your farm, and then do you have some sort of an exchange where you sell your produce or your what you grow there?
Yeah, I have a few things going. Before the pandemic, I was going down to the ferias in Coco and Tamarindo and other places. Since then, I haven't been back to the ferias, but I have a WhatsApp group and I have a Facebook group called Organic Costa Rica. And my WhatsApp group, I say, okay, I just harvested. Like yesterday, for example, I harvested plantains, bananas, tangerines, and Tahitian limes. So I put it out in the group, and then, a couple of hotels, restaurants, friends. And then I load up my Forerunner with whatever I got, and I go deliver to the people who pre-ordered. And then while I'm sitting out in front of the hardware store, giving the lady at the hardware store what she ordered, some of the clients, oh yeah, I'd like some of that and some of that and some of that. So it's just like a little loop I do with my truck. And
nice. And then do you, I know we didn't talk about this, but I know you said on part of your land you have cattle.
Yeah, on the new section, I bought a 15-acre section, maybe 2018 or 2019, right before the pandemic, and the main farm is mostly forest. That sector had been clear cut a long time ago, and so it's grass. So it's pasture with a few trees. I mean, there's guavas and plantains and bananas and lots of coconuts, but it's not like the food forest I have up here.
Right.
So that's where I have the cattle. I have, I think, 6 bulls and 3 cows and 2 horses down there right now.
And what's the plan with them?
I look at, well, some of them belong to some of my employees, and I rent they pay $6 a month per head to graze on my land. And I look at that as like my certificate of deposit. I buy the cows young, I let them run around there, I give them vitamin shots, and I feed them salt, and they call it miel, but it's really molasses. And then when I'm like, oh, funds are getting low, oh, look, the cows are big, let's sell them. And so that's it's like a savings account.
That's funny, because whenever I was younger, it's like 14, 15, my dad had like 10 acres, and we would buy Springer calves, and I would buy one too. So like at the time, it probably cost me $150 for a Springer calf, and bottle feeding them because they've been pulled off their mama already. So bottle feeding them until you didn't have to any longer. And then it was the same thing. And so it would get to the fall, and whatever, and you may keep them for a year, you may not keep them that long, and then like sell them and make a profit. And so I had, when I was 15, I was already driving, and I had a job. It's a long story as to why I had a job at 15. But I was on my way to work, and I was driving. We had a 72 Ford Torino station wagon, and I was driving it to work. And my dad had always told me, if you ever get pulled over or if you ever get in a wreck, I'm going to report the car stolen. So you better drive carefully. Not even kidding you. So one day on my way to work, I had, there was a one-way, leaving my house, there's a one-way street. I don't even know why I didn't stop. And I didn't stop at that stop sign, and this old Toyota Corolla, like one of the original ones that was so tiny, hit me in the back end of that big station wagon and totaled her car.
Oh.
And luckily, I had like 3 Springer calves that were about at that point where it's like I could sell those calves and pay for the damage to her car. I was like, it was just like having a CD. You're right. Like that was my savings account, was like, oh, okay, well, I have 3 calves, I can take care of this.
Exactly. That's what it is. Plus they're kind of fun. And when the people come here and do rental stays, sometimes when I do the farm tour, if they're interested, I'll take them over there. It's about a 15-minute walk from where my housing is to where the cattle are. That's just, one way.
Right.
But it's fun. And I kind of like it.
I love it. I think it's amazing. It's great. Okay. So I know that you talked about some futures for your property. What are you looking at in the future for there?
Well, actually, the sector that I have the cattle on right now, I have legally subdivided into 11 separate properties. One of them is a full hectare, and that's at the entrance. And then the 10, I want to have an intentional type community, including I want to put on an assisted living and a hospice. and kind of a place where people can come for healing and support. So you don't have to be old or need assisted living, but perhaps you're struggling with, who knows, Graves' disease or whatever, and you just want to get out of that city, so you could come and rent one of these things and we'll feed you, and we can do acupuncture, meditation, qigong, nature activities, whatever, to support your healing journey. Also, I'm able to support people who come for medical tourism, dental implants, hip replacements, whatever, because I'm a registered nurse and a licensed acupuncturist. The grand vision on this is I have this facility kind of shaped like a horseshoe, with everybody having a little apartment with their own separate garden and deck, entrance from the back, a community building. And then I want to have a place where I can train the local women here, and men potentially, to work in this facility, and they can bring their kids. So it's like a childcare and education. And after I train the nurses, aides, and the gardeners and the cooks, then they work for me, and then they can bring their elders that they're, to get the sandwich people. Right. They can bring their elders to interact with the people who are living there, and they can bring their kids to play with the old people while they're learning and making money, and everybody just kind of grows together.
And what kind of timeline do you think for that?
I don't know. Right now I'm swinging the whole ball by myself. So I need some cash investments. What I've been doing right now is I'm here, I go to California, I do a nursing contract, I come back with a pocket full of money, I invest it all, and I'm like, dang, it's gone, and I got to go back. So I'm hoping to get out of that. Yeah. So when the money's there, it can happen fast. But right now I don't have enough money to do that. So I'm holding it out. I'm doing a tour of the United States. Well, I'm going to 2 states in July to talk with some people who are interested in working with me. I'm going to be in Denver and in Albuquerque.
It's funny. I interviewed and I've met him. There's a guy, his name is Tony Lewis, and he was in Nicaragua for like 4 years, and he had developed this building process. And he builds and you might look him up on YouTube. He builds these structures called rad pads, and they're made out of tubular steel and recycled products as much as he can inside. And they're really fast to put up, and they're engineered beyond what they are even required to be engineered. They respect the land around them. And really kind of interesting. He got his first small one, which is a short-term unit finished, and it's up by Platanillo. But the next one he's building is down in the middle of Dominical, and it'll be a 2-bedroom and fully complete with furnishings, everything inside, shower curtains, everything complete. Building on your land is like $45,000, and he's done in less than 90 days.
Wow, that's great. It's Tony Lewis. I'll look that up.
Yeah, and I'll send you his link also. I interviewed him as well. But his YouTube channel, like, he videos every day, everything that he's doing on the building process. And at first you're looking at it going, I don't know. Then I went down and looked. I went in. We looked over every piece of it. I've gone twice now to look at the one he has complete, and then the one he's working on right now in Dominical is the one I'm interested in because of it being the 2-bedroom. The smaller one, the hotel style room, like, it'll hold a king size bed, but queen size bed comfortably, full bath, and a little area for like having a chair and a deck and whatever. And I think that one fully complete, bedding, sheets, everything, is like $35,000. And so, but the 2-bedroom has kitchen and everything in it, and it may be more than 45. It may be. It's right around in that price range somewhere. But like, I was thinking about that because they're so fast to go up, and they're easy. And he comes on site. He stays the entire time. It's him and one other guy that are putting the system together. And wow. They're pretty amazing. I love them. We're probably going to put them on the land we have down in Costa Rica, but I want to see the 2-bedroom one first. So might be something that works for you too. I mean, I know like that one of the things in Costa Rica is the time to get something built seems to be so long.
Have you looked at the prefabricados? They're most of the houses in my area are called prefabricados or prefab, and they're cement, and they're literally like a Lego log house. They put straight pieces that have little grooves, and then you slide in the flat pieces. You could get one key in hand, doors, everything, 15K.
Wow, that's awesome. How big are
Yeah. Well, they have, you go to the hardware store and there's a binder this thick of models.
Oh,
So
wow.
you pick what you want. You can almost design it, you know. It's literally a Lego log house. A lot of my buildings here are wood, and I'm having trouble with insects, you
Yeah,
know, termites and whatever. And these, with a solid cement wall, you're not going to have stuff living in your walls, and you're not going to have termite issues.
right.
So that's another alternative. But I'm definitely going to look at Tony Lewis. His sounds like a lot fancier. These
Yeah.
don't have furniture or anything, but that 12, 15K, and they're up in less than 30 days.
Right. And his were built for airflow, for water flow. So he considers everything that's around the building like they're built up off of the ground. So you have water flow, but they're built on concrete pylons so that you're not having to worry about their stability. And then he builds them for airflow as well. All of the windows in them have their louvered windows. So you can have airflow that comes across the entire structure. Screens on the inside. So if you don't want them on there, you can take them out, but the screens on the inside keep all the bugs out. I just really loved his design. And like I said, I'll share that with you.
Oh,
I want to go back to when you moved, what your family felt like. Here you are living the American dream, the California dream, and now you're just up and taking off to a whole other country.
yeah, they've been, they thought I was crazy at first, and then they were like, yeah, and they're just really rooting for me to be successful here. When I first came down, I was married, and that seemed to take a little bit longer. My husband didn't really have the work ethic that I have, but I'm not married anymore, and things are going really well. Let's
Good.
just, but yeah, at first it was like, why? You own your house in California, you've got all this stuff. And I'm like, but I don't want to be here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
great, it looks good on paper, but my heart is saying, you gotta go.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
I listen to the heart. I've always been um listening to my heart more than those around me, let's say.
Understood. So if there was, let's talk about something that when you moved, before you moved, and you were like, I think this is going to be really difficult. So something that you thought was going to be really difficult, but ended up not being that hard.
I guess finding the land I wanted,
Yeah.
because I looked at least 100 properties before I found what I wanted. And I didn't think it would be that hard to find what I wanted, but eventually what I wanted found me.
I love that. And then what was something that you thought would be, that you thought would just the opposite, right? So you thought like this is going to be super easy and it wasn't.
Residency.
Okay.
They have at the time, I think when I started, you had to have a $250,000 investment, and I had that. And the whole process took me 7 years. Way on the outlier. The pandemic, I kept trying to apply, and some lawyer did something wrong on some paper and it got rejected, and then the pandemic, and then crooked lawyers and whatever. But 7 years later, I finally got it, and that was after already being here 10 years.
Oh my God. That's funny because I'm interviewing a local TICO attorney later today. And she actually, I guess there was a company actually called Outliers that was supposed to be like the number one law firm in Costa Rica for helping expats get their residency. And then they took everybody's money and then skedaddled to Panama. And she has been part of the crew that's like stepped in and like said, how can we help these people who got, you know, shanked by this law firm? And she's like, there's so many things that you can do within the legal system that's free that attorneys charge for. And she's like, I don't even know why they charge for them. Like, there's no reason. They're free. So why are you charging for it? And like, I think about like back in the United States, like if I'm getting a corporation, I need an EIN, right? And a lot of the websites that you go to maybe register your LLC will charge you for getting that EIN for you, like $250 to $300 when it's free to get.
Caveat emptor.
Right. That's right. And so, but a lot of people just don't know, right? And another thing that she told me, yesterday, that even myself doing transactions in Costa Rica, I didn't know. I just was assumed like, well, you're in a Spanish speaking country. If they give you documents in Spanish, you're just kind of screwed and go, okay, whatever. And she goes, no, they're required. They're required to give you any contracts, any binding documents in the language that you understand. They have to do that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, because I've been like looking at this crap going, what am I reading here? And they're like telling me, I'm like, I didn't. She goes, yes, you have to understand what you're signing. And if you don't speak that language, you're signing a document that's not in your language. She said they have to provide you documentation in your language.
That's cool. I have an example of that ripoff thing. There's this thing you have to do every year if you have a corporation here called the Transparency Registration of Final Beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
A lawyer or accountants, they charge me $200 for each one, and I have 2 companies here. But all you have to do is go down and get a digital signature for $75, and you can do it yourself.
Wow.
So I've been doing it.
We're having to do that ourselves right now. So
Yeah, me too. They're due usually in June or July. So I'm working on that, and it's like, wait, and all I need is this, but I couldn't get the digital signature till I had my residency. So woohoo, I can do it now.
Saving money all over the place, aren't you?
Trying.
So if you could give an expat or someone who's wanting to be an expat that's thinking about moving to Costa Rica, just one piece of advice. I know you probably have 100, but if you could give them one piece of advice that like would have made your whole transition easier, what would it be?
Learn Spanish.
100%, 100%.
Learn Spanish, because if you don't speak Spanish, people are going to take advantage of you. And if you do speak Spanish, they're going to take advantage of you.
I agree. Well, I'm going to drop all of your links down below to your social media, to all of the places where they can find. What is the name of your property?
Granja Integral Luz del Corazon. Here on my coffee cup. Whoops, how does that go? On the coffee cup. I can't figure it out.
Send it to me in WhatsApp. Okay. And I know you have a bunch of stuff that you have to do today, so we're going to hop off here. I'm going to try and respect our time frame. But I so appreciate that you took the time, and I know we had a little technical hiccup going on, and I appreciate you not getting frustrated with that. So, and I said, I even asked you, I'm like, I don't want you to get frustrated. I had a lady that literally just, I don't even know why she agreed to do this, like, because she technically could not figure any of it out. And then she got mad at me, and I'm like, look, it's okay if we don't do this. I'm like, this isn't life or death here. So I appreciate it. And for everybody who's watching, remember to subscribe. If you know somebody who's looking to make a transition, or is even talking about making the transition to Costa Rica, share this episode with them. There are so many great stories within here, and all walks of life, all age ranges, all levels of people who have family, don't have family, single, married. There's just so many stories that are rich within Expat Diaries, and I love to share them all. So, Deepa, you have a great day today, and I hope to meet you face to face one time when I'm in country.
Robin, that would be amazing. Blessings on your day. Thank you for your time. I'm happy if people want to write me. I'm happy to share. If you want to come and visit the farm, I've got space, and I've got so much love and beautiful plants. If you're into plants, you should definitely come.
I love it. I love it. We'll plan on making a trip. I appreciate it. Yay! All right. Pura vida.
Pura vida.